Tonight on CTV News at 6. It happened last night in Sudbury.
Individuals at Energy Court noticed a tent fire. They were able to extinguish it with snow.
A woman dies in an encampment. Speeding up the process.
This is a company that has demonstrated a strong commitment to collaboration both with First Nations and with community. So they have our full endorsement.
The province is fast-tracking a large nickel mine near Timmins. And breaking down barriers. Sault Ste. Marie has its first female fire chief.
CTV News at 6 with Tony Ryma and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday. A death investigation is underway in Sudbury following an overnight fire at a homeless encampment near the city's warming center. CTV's Amanda Hicks has details.
Yellow tape surrounds the area near Sudbury's warming center where the fire broke out just before 10 o'clock Monday night. By the time help arrived, it was already too late.
Individuals at Energy Court noticed a tent fire. They were able to extinguish it with snow. However, once they extinguished it, they did find a deceased person inside the tent.
Police have identified the victim as a 38-year-old woman. While the cause is still under investigation, Sudbury's fire chief says this is a challenge facing many Ontario cities.
It is one of the biggest challenges for fire services right now in Ontario. We have formed a working group that includes internal and external stakeholders across the city so that it's a coordinated effort that tries to find balance between the need for warmth, and which sometimes means using fire, and of course, ultimate public safety to try and prevent something tragic like happened last night.
It is a tragic loss.
The 24/7 warming center, located just steps away, is run by the Go Give project. While the facility was not at capacity at the time of the fire, the organization says it is continuing to work with the city of Greater Sudbury on a long-term response.
We still aren't aware of what the cause was at this time, so there are ongoing investigations taking place. So we can't really speak to a solution for this specific problem, but we can share that we are working very closely with community partners, including the city, to come up with more rapid solutions for, the overall general crisis that our community is facing.
The fire marshal and coroner have taken the lead on the investigation, looking to identify the cause of death and determine what sparked the fatal fire. More details will be released following a post-mortem. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
The province announced today it's fast-tracking a mining project in the Timmins area under its One Project, One Process framework. CTV's Lydia Chubak tells us more.
The Crawford project near Timmins is another step closer to becoming one of the world's largest nickel mines. The Minister of Energy and Mines says he wants to speed up the opening of this mine to unlock 4,000 jobs and to add $70 billion to Canada's economy as soon as possible.
This is a company that has demonstrated a strong commitment to collaboration both with First Nations and with community. And so they have our full endorsement.
It's the only mining company in the country so far to receive endorsement from both the federal and provincial governments for having a shovel-ready project.
The transformation that we've seen with the regulatory authorities in terms of how they want to work collaboratively, still as rigorously, but as collaboratively to get permits done. This will give us the certainty to be able to hit that construction milestone by year end.
Matagami First Nation says announcements like this matter because they reflect how Indigenous partnerships are critical to advancing mining projects.
It's one that's built on respect, understanding, and also knowing that there is a responsibility as we move forward with this project. Long gone are the days where First Nation input in terms of sustainability and environmental issues are not factored in.
Nickel is a critical mineral for the green energy industry, and the province says with $4 billion of it in the Timmins region, the city is the center of the new economy.
We've just recently seen what Trump did in Venezuela, embargoing the oil, because he doesn't have any. Well, he doesn't have any nickel either, but he's not going to be able to take our nickel out of the ground. Not a bloody chance. Not a bloody chance. We've got it right here, and we're going to process it here, and we're going to develop value-added industries here in the north. That's our future. That's the promise.
Canada Nickel wants to begin construction on the Crawford mine by the end of this year and open by the fourth quarter of 2028. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
Evacuations continue out of Kashechewan First Nation as the community continues to deal with a state of emergency, and now it's getting extra support from First Nation leadership in Ontario. CTV's Angela Gemmell reports.
About 700 of the 2,200 residents of Kashechewan have been evacuated, with more expected in the coming week as leadership of the beleaguered First Nation work to fix all the issues.
No timeline right now. Right now, it's just assessing and also doing the repairs and making sure that the teams that are coming in have the proper resources.
It's been 10 days since the Northern Ontario community declared a state of emergency due to its failing water system. The water treatment system is being repaired, and Wesley says water is flowing from taps. However, it's heavily chlorinated and the do not consume order remains in place. But along with the water problems, some residents are sick with gastrointestinal issues.
There is no correlation right now, no real evidence to kind of tie the water to all of these issues, but we are asking public health to make sure that the people that are experiencing gastro issues to be tested to confirm whether or not it is bacteria from the water.
Kashechewan Council represents 7 Cree First Nations in Northern Ontario. The chiefs of that group are demanding the federal and provincial governments commit to sustainable long-term solutions for water treatment and wastewater infrastructure in Kashechewan and other First Nations along the James Bay coast.
Because our water plant is outdated, and so are the other plants in the coastal communities.
Chief Friday calls the situation in Cache a humanitarian crisis.
They drink from the tap, and that tap is not really good. If you wanted to make tea, you see a cream oil on top of your tea when you make a tea. It's really something that nobody from down south would accept to use.
A contingent of First Nation leaders is expected in Kashechewan this Thursday to see the situation firsthand. Invited to be part of that is Minister of Indigenous Affairs Greg Rickford. Wesley is hopeful Rickford will prioritize the visit since he is supposed to work for First Nations. Angela Gemmell, CTV News, Sudbury.
North Bay police arrested a man last Thursday carrying drugs and counterfeit cash. Police stopped a 25-year-old man wanted on failing to comply with release and probation orders on McLaren Avenue. The man fled and was later found hiding under a car on Ann Street. Police found a small amount of cocaine and 3 counterfeit $50 bills with serial numbers that matched previously reported fake currency. Meanwhile, Greater Sudbury police arrested a 55-year-old man for drug trafficking over the weekend in Esther, south of the city. Police say they were investigating a person who was believed to be in possession of multiple unlawful firearms. When police executed a search warrant for the home on Elbow Lake Road, they found more than $8,000 worth of cocaine and $150,000 in cash. They also discovered 3 loaded guns. The man faces 12 criminal charges. Shifting gears now, snow and above normal temperatures on this Tuesday. However, the warm spell isn't going to last. With more on the deep drop in temperatures, here's CTV's Rick Wyman.
Tony, an astute observation by one of my neighbors in Wanabate said, this winter is kind of unusual. We haven't had a winter like this in quite some time. And I agree, and I've only been in Wanabate for a couple of winters now, but more snow than last year and more warm, more cold in varying degrees. Systems map right now. This is the precipitation that we all endured for the better part of today. More coming up this evening. We'll get into some of the 7-day numbers and, of course, your current temperatures, Tony, coming up just minutes away. Back to you.
Thanks, Rick. It's a first for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Still to come on CTV News at 6. A woman is taking over as fire chief. But first, we're going live to Elliott Lake and the Miners Memorial. This shot is courtesy of that city. It's 1 degree and light rain. We are back after this commercial break.
Fuel your Fridays with CTV and Pure Country. Enter online for a chance to win a $100 gas gift card. Fuel your Fridays. Powered by CAA. Life isn't one size fits all. Neither is CAA.
We're learning more about the bus crash in Manitoba that sent 15 people to hospital. Officials say the school bus that rolled over on a highway was carrying students from Saptawayak Cree Nation.
I've been with the family members, and it's a state of shock, right? Because you think your child's going to school only to find out, has been involved in an accident. So it sort of hits your heart in a bad way. So hopefully those children that are being assessed, hopefully they could recover their lives and what they had and how they were affected by the accident themselves, right? And hope they get back to normal.
It happened near the town of Swan River, close to the Saskatchewan border. The bus was carrying 14 students between the ages of 16 and 18 and one adult. 4 people suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. A code orange alert indicating mass casualties was called at the Winnipeg Hospital and the Swan Valley Health Centre. Sudbury Mayor Paula Five sent a letter to the province calling on the Ontario government to intervene in LifeLab's decision to close the Greater Sudbury Laboratory this spring, stating the closure will result in the loss of 40 medical laboratory technologist jobs. LaFive also says the shift from the Sudbury lab to Toronto will create unnecessary risk and cause delays for patients in Northern Ontario.
It's completely unfair. This is equity, right? We live in one province. We should be able to at least get the same level of service that they get in the GTA area. I understand it's a massive province, and I get the distance issues, but this is Sudbury, population of over 190,000 people. We're actually serving a lot of people in the Northeast as well.
LifeLab's laboratory in Sudbury processes diagnostic samples from communities across Northern Ontario, like Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay, and many other locations.
We need to advocate. I know I'm not the only one advocating for that, but it's key that we join our voices to the ministry to see how they can intervene to ensure that that key component of our healthcare system, which is lab testing and lab results, that are basically done in a timely way for us in the north, and with this new obviously system that they're looking at doing, basically that would just delay it even further.
Healthcare decisions are a provincial matter. However, LaFive says that he is advocating for Northern Ontario to continue having Northerners running tests for other Northerners. Sault Ste. Marie City Council has appointed a new fire chief. Naomi Thibault was named at last night's meeting and will take over the role February 1st. Thibault is the first female fire chief in the city. She's been with the Sault's Fire Services since 2015 and has been deputy chief since 2023. Thibault replaces Peter Johnson, who is retiring after 31 years. North Bay firefighters are issuing a warning about oscillating fan fires and the dangers they pose when they are left running for a long time. Over the past 6 months, crews have responded to 3 fires caused by fans that were left on for an extended period of time. Fire Services is reminding you to check the cords on household fans for fraying, avoid running them while you're sleeping, and clean them thoroughly. Fire crews say older models, especially those with worn cords or lacking modern safety features, pose a higher risk. And if you hear a grinding sound or smell burning, unplug immediately. Canada's steel industry is certainly feeling the impact of U.S. tariffs. Algoma Steel announcing fourth quarter losses were between $95 and $105 million. In a statement, the company's CEO says the losses were in line with the steelmaker's expectations and reflect the impact of tariffs and the wind down of the blast furnace. The CEO expressed optimism for the year ahead, citing defense supply chains and critical infrastructure supports Algoma Steel looks to be a part of. Despite 1,000 layoffs coming in March, the company hopes to add hundreds of longer-term jobs as domestic orders start coming in. The city of North Bay says 2025 was a banner year for housing construction. Residential construction accounted for close to $50 million of the total construction values for 2025, which reached $147 million, nearly double the previous year's total. The institutional sector accounted for the largest share, largely from the new community and recreation center, as well as 60 new affordable housing units for seniors at the site of a former school.
The half funding the Housing Accelerator Fund through the feds, the $10.2 million that we received for that has a big impetus in making and putting together affordable housing units within our community. And those, I think, are the key that we have been able to achieve with some of the policies, procedures that we've put in place over the past couple of years.
The city believes early indicators suggest 2026 will continue with strong building momentum. Back now for a check on your current conditions. Once again, here's Rick.
Again, we have a change in conditions from last night to this evening. A lot more snow across the Northeast. But first, our forecast radar, Tony. Have a look. We've got the remnants of today's precipitation continuing into this evening and overnight. Let's have a look at what's happening this hour with your temperatures across the Northeast. In Moosonee, -7, some light precipitation. Cochrane, -4 in Timmins, and -2 in Kapuskasing. We also have some light drizzle in some areas as well. Chapleau, -3, Wawa, -2, some fog in the Sioux at -3. How about Parry Sound? We've got -5 this hour. In North Bay, -5, some light precipitation. Temiskaming Shores, -4, and Kirkland Lake at -4 as well. Greater Sudbury Nickel Belt, -5, some light snow in Espanola, -4, some drizzle, freezing drizzle, and some snow in Elliott Lake at -3, and some fog in Gore Bay, -5. Oh yes, the 7-day forecast is approaching as well. We'll also feature our pick of the day. Tony, back to you.
Thanks, Rick. Coastal First Nations disagree with the Prime Minister. Next on CTV News at 6. Mark Carney meets with First Nations to get a major project built. And two provinces have differing views on electric vehicles and canola. Prime Minister Mark Carney is meeting with Coastal First Nations in BC today, talking about the government's major projects agenda, marine conservation, and the role Indigenous communities can play in his push to strengthen Canada's economy.
Today is really about a dialogue. It's a dialogue of what's been happening in the region, the projects that have been led by the various First Nations here, the various opportunities that do exist, the imperative of conservation, how we have been doing on conservation. I mean, this immense, precious natural heritage, which is a huge responsibility for all of us, but is core to the identity of the First Nations here.
Coastal First Nations represents 9 First Nations. Tensions between the group and the federal government heated up last year. Federal officials failed to meet with the group before signing an agreement with Alberta, opening the door to a pipeline to BC's coast. Coastal First Nations has said members do not support a pipeline or the suspension of the oil tanker moratorium. The stop in BC precedes the Prime Minister's trip to China with a suffering canola industry because of Chinese tariffs. Many wonder if Canada will lift or adjust tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. CTV's Abigail Beeman has more.
The U.S. president toured a Ford factory close to our border in Detroit and gave upcoming CUSMA trade talks a shrug.
It's irrelevant to me. Canada would love it. Canada wants it. They need it. Because we don't need Canada product. That's the thing. You know, I want to be a nice person, but we don't need. I want to build the cars here, not in Canada.
Donald Trump also doesn't want cheap Chinese EVs.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And flanked by Michigan lawmakers, Ontario Premier Doug Ford urged Mark Carney not to back down on Canada's 100% tariff on them during his trip to China.
It would not be good for Ontario and Canada, and it sure the heck wouldn't be good for the U.S., and it wouldn't be good when it comes to negotiating with President Trump.
Canadian government sources say to expect some progress on punishing canola tariffs, which China slapped on in retaliation for the EVs.
They've been absolutely devastating to the industry. Well, we've lost over $1 billion Canada-wide. Frankly, just even for my farm, I'm just under $100,000 myself, and that really hurts.
But with Saskatchewan's premier now joining for some Beijing meetings.
Would you take Mo if you didn't expect some relief, some schedule of lower tariffs on canola? Probably not.
Many are wondering if that means EV concessions are on the table.
China's being very savvy in the way that it's picked areas to tariff to pit one region of the country against another. I think premiers have been very restrained in terms of their approach on this, in terms of not trying to divide the country against itself.
In a briefing ahead of the Prime Minister's China trip, federal government sources spoke of addressing trade irritants on both sides systematically, but wouldn't share details on conversations around canola or EVs. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
U.S. President Donald Trump says America doesn't need the Canada-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. When speaking to reporters earlier today, he said it's irrelevant and there's no real advantage for the U.S.
I want to see Canada and Mexico do well, but the problem is we don't need their product.
You don't think you're going to renegotiate USMCA?
Well, I can. It expires very shortly, and we could have it or not. It wouldn't matter to me. I think they want it. I don't really care about it.
Trump's comments come as Canada and Mexico look to renegotiate the deal later this year. The president also spoke about the U.S. auto sector and how any cars being built should be made in the U.S., adding the U.S. doesn't need Canadian products. U.S. lawmakers are planning to visit Denmark this week as U.S. President Donald Trump continues threatening to take over Greenland, an autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark. The bipartisan delegation will be led by Democratic U.S. Senator Chris Coons. Trump has claimed Washington must own Greenland to prevent Russia or China from occupying the Arctic territory. Greenland and Denmark say Greenland is not for sale, but Trump has not ruled out taking it by force. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance are also set to meet with Denmark tomorrow to discuss the issue. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand reiterated Canada's steadfast support for the kingdom and Greenland's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Anand will be in Greenland's capital in the coming weeks for the official opening of Canada's consulate, part of Ottawa's new Arctic foreign policy. Sydney, Nova Scotia could become home to a new Coast Guard repair facility. The city is being looked at as the site for a maintenance facility for the Coast Guard's new fleet of icebreakers. The Deepwater port has been cited as the best spot close to Canada's Arctic to maintain future polar ships. It was also chosen as Cape Breton is home to the Canadian Coast Guard Academy. Icebreakers are expected to be added to the fleet in the 2030s. And there's more news still ahead, but first, here's your full weather forecast with Rick.
Tony, some great times experienced in Cape Breton. I love the Sydney area. Let's check out our forecast radar right now that we've experienced over the course of the day. About 5 centimeters of snow in Greater Sudbury. Another few coming up this evening. Here's that system as it heads to the province of Quebec. And of course, we've got some flurries overnight and into tomorrow as well. And then we've got some sunshine and of course some colder weather coming up on Thursday. 2 centimeters in Greater Sudbury, 2 in the Sault, 5 to 10 in Timmins, Temiskaming Shores 2 to 4, and North Bay 2 to 4 tonight and overnight. Moosonee 5 to 10 centimeters, some blowing snow as well. Caphurst 5 centimeters, Wawa 2 centimeters, snow rain mix in Gore Bay, of course, with the water effect, and Parry Sound with 5 centimeters as well. Sudbury Nickel Belt, your 7-day numbers. Here we go. Chance of flurries, minus 12 tomorrow for your high. Thursday, minus 16 with the sunshine. Friday and Saturday, Sunday, periods of snow, chance of snow, chance of snow. Those 60% chances are pretty good right now. And the chance of flurries come Monday. But take a look at some of these temperatures. We go from minus 7 to minus 14 to minus 16 in just about a week's time. So get ready for some of that colder weather. Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, chance of flurries. Couple of days at minus 11. Sunshine Thursday. Friday, periods of snow. Chance of snow Saturday. Sunday, chance of snow, and the cloud cover Monday at minus 11, just like your high on Sunday. Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, periods of snow, minus 18. Sorry about that tomorrow. It's going to be cold. Thursday, minus 17 with the sunshine. Friday, chance of snow, chance of flurries Saturday. And for Sunday, chance of flurries. Monday, we've got cloud cover and minus 18 degrees. That area has seen some warmer days before. Temiskaming Shores, Kirkland Lake, periods of snow tomorrow, minus 12, minus 17 Thursday, sunny skies. Friday, chance of snow on Saturday. You go from minus 7 to minus 10 to minus 15 Sunday with the chance of flurries. Monday, some cloud cover and minus 15. Your normal this time of the year should be at around minus 10. How about North Bay, West Nipissing? Periods of snow tomorrow, -7, -18 Thursday with sunshine. Friday, periods of snow, chance of snow Saturday and Sunday. Your highs go from -8, -9 to -13 to -14 come Monday with the chance of flurries. And of course, that is well below your normal for this time of the year. Let's have a look at our pick of the day for today. Great skating rink, Wendy B. Wendy, what's your last name? All I received was Wendy B. St. Mary's River in the Sioux. Beautiful rink this time of the year. And of course, you'll need a shovel or two to clear off some of the snow. Stick around. Tony has more news after the break.
Canadian transportation authorities say they logged more than 100 reports of disruptive air passengers last year. The incidents include passengers accused of inappropriate touching, instigating fights, uttering threats, sneaking onto flights, causing travel disruptions. CTV's Scott Hurst has details.
We're talking rage at cruising altitude and sometimes even before flights get off the ground. Canadian transportation authorities logged more than 100 reports of disruptive air passengers last year. The incidents caused numerous flights to be delayed, diverted, or turned back to the gate. In many cases, the passengers causing the disturbances were arrested or escorted off the plane by police. The 114 reports include a wide range of bad behavior, including refusing to return to a seat, vaping on board, uttering threats, assault, and indecent exposure, just to name a few. 45 of the 114 reports were filed by flights departing or arriving in Calgary, by far the most for any Canadian city. It is, as we know, a major WestJet hub, followed by Toronto with 27 reports and Vancouver with 21. In a statement, a WestJet and Sunwing spokesperson said the airlines have zero tolerance for this behavior. Air Canada tells CTV News the number of reported incidents is a small fraction of the millions of flying customers every year. The reports of bad behavior, however, are actually trending downwards over the past few years, but union reps for flight attendants tell CTV News cases of disruptive passengers often go unreported, depending on the severity of the incidents. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Ontario landlords were able to charge an increase in rent on January 1st. The rent cap for 2026 was set at 2.1%. There are some exemptions to the cap, such as buildings constructed after November 2018, and also for those living in retirement residences. That story from CTV's Pat Foran.
What did you think when you found out it's going to be almost 4% instead of 2.1%?
Well, it made me sick. It made me sick.
89-year-old Estelle Arlo has lived at Venvie Don Mills Seniors Apartments for the past 16 years. She was expecting her rent to increase 2.1% under this year's rent guideline, but was shocked to get a notice her rent would be going up 3.99%.
I think it's a big cash grab.
Arlo's monthly rent was just increased from $3,784 to over $3,900. The fee includes TV, phone, internet, and the opportunity to visit a physician on site, but she buys her own groceries and makes her own food. She believes the increase is not justified.
I was just flummoxed. I couldn't believe it.
The building is managed by Coger Senior Living, which told CTV News of the total 4% increase indicated, 2.1% applies to rent, while the remaining portion relates to services. We recognize any increase can be difficult, particularly for those on fixed incomes.
The landlord has the ability to really increase the overall charge by whatever they want.
The Advocacy Center for the Elderly says retirement homes must adhere to the rent cap on the rent portion of the monthly bill. However, for other services in retirement homes, there is no cap. Advocates say there should be to protect seniors.
Older adults living in retirement home accommodation are often on fixed incomes, and they simply can't afford to pay exorbitant increases.
The Federation of Metro Tenants Associations says seniors risk homelessness if their rents rise too quickly.
We need to have regulation in place that is able to help tenants that are suffering under these economic conditions.
It's a lot of money still.
I know, and I don't have it.
Arlo says she'll now have to cut costs to pay her rent and says the government should introduce a cap on retirement home services to protect seniors from being overcharged. Pat Foran, CTV News.
As we showed you last night, sepsis resulting from a mummy makeover in Costa Rica almost killed a woman. Now, as she learns to live without the use of fingers or toes, she and the medical community want to make sure others are fully informed. Here's CTV's Pauline Chan with part 2 of her series on Canadian medical tourism.
Nicole Grigorov's medical tourism trip resulted in more than a tummy tuck and breast lift. Sepsis led to the amputation of her fingers and toes.
To be honest, Pauline, when I saw my fingers and my toes for the first time in Costa Rica, I knew, I wasn't going to be able to keep them. They were black.
Doctors Ron Samoji and Corey Goldberg say they're treating a growing number of overseas procedures gone wrong.
If not every week, it's every other week that I see a patient that's gone out of Canada for their cosmetic surgery and has come back with some kind of problem.
As the market for surgery abroad has increased, the number of complications that we're seeing regularly has increased as well.
And while they don't often see the kind of life-threatening complications that Nicole Grigorov suffered, many of the problems can be permanent.
They had given her what I would argue is a male hairline and a very low one at that. And she was in tears and asked, please, can you reverse this? Once that's done, you can't.
It's self-serving to say patients should come and have surgery with a Canadian plastic surgeon. But the reality is, to us, there's absolutely nothing more important than the patient's safety.
Dr. Samoji says overseas clinics may accept patients who otherwise might not be approved for surgery here due to weight or other health concerns. Other countries also have different products and standards for things such as implants or even sutures.
With cosmetic surgery, good cosmetic surgery, the pillar of care is really the follow-up, and that's what we sort of stress to patients is if they're going out of country, by the time they come back to Canada, they don't have their surgeon there anymore.
Follow-up care for cosmetic surgery can take months as the body heals and settles, but medical tourists won't be abroad for that time, so it falls on the Canadian health system to fix any problems that result.
So for my recent patient that was admitted to hospital for 5 days, CT scans, drainage procedures, a drain being placed, multiple days in hospital. These are thousands of dollars of OHIP funds, and it's a huge burden, huge burden.
In the final part of our series, we'll look at some of the legal issues surrounding cosmetic surgery abroad and why so many Canadians are still choosing to go despite the warnings. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Despite grant funding drying up, still ahead on CTV News at 6, a popular park in Sudbury is seeing growth with its winter program.
Clothing provided by Laura, Melanie Lynn.
PFLAG and Fierté Sudbury Pride have launched their first parent and caregiver support group. It began at 6 this evening. The monthly meetings are hoping to establish support, connection, and resources in a judgment-free way.
I think the parents who come already know that they're trying to do the right thing. And so if we can feel connected together, usually that really helps us feel a little less alone, because sometimes I think everyone knows that feeling of I can't be the first person going through this, but also I'm by myself going through this.
Groom says people can register for the meeting or show up until June when the group breaks for the summer. A winter seniors program in the north continues to grow despite no longer having grant funding. Officials say it's a great way to stay active and socialize. CTV's Lindsay Aylen tells us more.
The parking lot is full as seniors in Sudbury gather at Kiwi Park for the twice-weekly seniors program.
Originally the program, we got a grant for it. It was supposed to be run mostly during the summer. That was our main idea. And then we found out that we had a timeline to use the grant. So we came up with the idea of the winter program, thinking that the program would have maybe 30 participants. But even the first day we had over 60. And then now we're averaging about 90 to 120, with our most popular day last year being 195 participants.
For the past 3 years, the program was free, but with grant funding coming to an end, it will now be pay what you can donations.
It doesn't matter what amount, it's whatever they can afford to give. Sometimes it's $2, some it's $5 per day. But with their donation, then they get access to free rentals, access to the trail, and then a snack and a drink at the end.
For some, it's about socialization. For others, it's all about the exercise. Either way, participants I talk to say it's fun.
It's exercise. It gets you outside. Okay, and there's no better exercise than walking or hiking and that. And so it's great. And plus you get to meet people, and after have a coffee, stand around the fire. Can't beat it. It's a great program.
This is where I met Ted 2 years ago.
Participants can choose from a variety of activities, including cross-country skiing and snowshoeing.
I remember the first day of the first program, these two ladies met just waiting in line to register, and now it's the 4th year and they still come every single day. And they've actually let me know that like now they make it like a day. So before the program, they go out for breakfast. And then at noon, they come here, get their equipment, and go out.
The program runs Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. until March 6th. Lindsay Alick, CTV News, Sudbury.
To the OHL, where 80 of the league's players have made NHL Central Scouting's midterm rankings. Sioux Greyhounds defenseman Chase Reed topped the list for Northern teams, landing 4th in the rankings. North Bay Battalion's forward Ryder Cali is 22nd. And Sudbury Wolves' new acquisition, Adam Nemec, made the international skaters list at 29th. Reed Cali and Wolves winger Rowan Henderson will be playing tomorrow night in the 2026 Connor McDavid OHL Top Prospects game in Peterborough. The NHL Draft is in Buffalo June 26th and 27th. And one game in the NOJHL this evening, the French River Rapids are headed to Powassan to face off against the Voodoos. Game time is 7 p.m. There is a large memorial inside a Toronto grocery store for a staff member who recently died. Kevin Wilson was known by shoppers to be a huge fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this weekend, his favorite player paid tribute to Kevin in a very special way. CTV's Sean Leathong has more.
Honoring a person who connected a community. Leafs center Bobby McMahon wearing a safety vest as he arrived at Scotiabank Arena Saturday night. The vest belonged to a lifelong Leafs fan who died tragically just days earlier.
Kevin Wilson. He's a cart guy at Loblaws that I go to all the time.
48-year-old Wilson was in charge of shopping carts inside the Loblaws at Lakeshore and Bathurst downtown. But he specialized in kindness and connection with nearly everyone who walked through the door.
Just a really good spirit, really good person. Affected a lot of people positively, I think, when they walked into that place.
Inside his place of work, customers are placing flowers, notes, and Maple Leafs memorabilia, as many describe Wilson the same way.
Every time somebody came in, he made their day.
He spoke to probably every customer that came up the escalator, including children in strollers.
He was always smiling from year to year.
He had charisma. He had a kind of personality that was outgoing, and you could see the goodness within him.
Wilson died suddenly in hospital on January 8th. The cause has not been made public. He'd been working at Loblaws for 5 years, and in that time became a fixture with both customers and co-workers.
I have no words because I'm so heartbroken. Like, it devastates me.
And I don't think he even realizes how much people loved him.
Making every day a little brighter with a little connection, especially with those who love the Leafs.
You give me a fist bump, talk Leafs, literally every time.
This man, my boy Kevin, might have been legitimately the biggest, most diehard fan in Leaf Nation.
That includes Frank Krupe, known online as Hockey Illuminati, who dedicated a post to Wilson last week.
But his favorite Leaf was Bobby McMahon, who would also pop in to the Loblaws every now and then. He got a photo with him one time. He was so excited to show it to me.
McMahon asked the store if he could borrow one of Kevin's vests and a name tag.
Always had positive things to say, so I just wanted to honor him.
A GoFundMe page to cover funeral costs has already exceeded $20,000. And though he may never know how far his kindness reached, now many more know who Kevin Wilson was. A man who made a community through kindness. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Some sad news this evening. Scott Adams, the creator of the popular comic strip Dilbert, has died, according to an announcement on his social media pages. Adams announced in May he had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. His comic strip that lampooned office culture and bad bosses ran from the 1990s until 2023, when Adams faced backlash over racist comments about Black Americans. Adams' ex-wife, Shelley Miles, announced his death during today's episode of a YouTube show he hosted, Coffee with Scott. Adams was 68 years old.
Entertainment brought to you by the Cinefest Red Carpet Patron Program.
Taylor Swift has rewritten the Billboard record books, and a new season of the live-action One Piece is about to set sail. David Daniel has more in tonight's Hollywood Report.
For all her success, Taylor Swift had never had a song top the Billboard Hot 100 for 10 weeks until now. The Fate of Ophelia is the first of Swift's 13 career #1 hits to spend double digits at the top of that chart. One battle after another is in yet another battle with Sinners. The films lead this year's Motion Picture Sound Editors Awards nominations with 3 apiece. The 73rd Annual Golden Reel Awards take place March 8th in Los Angeles.
You will never find the one piece.
My friends. Together. There's nothing we can't take on.
Luffy and the Straw Hats face off against a secret society of assassins in the official teaser for Season 2 of One Piece. The pirate adventures continue when One Piece Into the Grand Line sets sail March 10th on Netflix. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We are getting reaction today on a possible mega merger involving a mining company with operations in Northern Ontario. Glencore is in talks with Rio Tinto. Officials with Unifor Mine Mill Local 598 say if the two companies merged, it would take years for Sudbury members to see change. Eric Boulay says the two companies are global heavyweights, and going through with this acquisition is not an easy task.
Our members have been through this before. So the takeover from Glencore to Xstrata and Xstrata to Falconbridge, and Noranda was in there too. So in Ontario, we have successor rights. So we'll maintain our collective agreement, and we'll just make sure that process is followed, because really that's what we can do as the union.
Boulay says that the union hasn't received any more information on the possible takeover, but he encourages members to attend union meetings to keep up to date. The U.S. President commented on the North American Free Trade Agreement that is up for negotiation this year. BNN Bloomberg's Marella Fernandez has more on that.
The U.S. President says the trade deal negotiated during his last term in office is now irrelevant. Trump was touring a Michigan Ford plant today when he spoke about CUSMA, saying we could have it or not, it wouldn't matter. The deal is supposed to be reviewed this year, but Washington called off early negotiations late last year after an Ontario-sponsored ad campaign about tariffs upset the U.S. president. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar hardly moved. It's at 72.04. West Texas Intermediate up $1.62 to 61.12. Western Canadian Select up 87 cents to 44.97, and the TSX lost 4 points today after a record close yesterday. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Here are the current prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold fell $10.12, closing the day at $45.8737 U.S. an ounce. Silver is up $1.78. Copper moved ahead 9 cents, and nickel climbed 17 cents, ending the day at $8.06 U.S. a pound. And Rick is back now for one last look at your Wednesday weather.
Well, Tony, we've got some flurries and some colder weather popping into the forecast right across northeastern Ontario. -12 chance of flurries for Greater Sudbury tomorrow. Timmins, periods of snow, -18, -11 in the Sioux, chance of flurries as well. Meanwhile, in North Bay, periods of snow, -7, -3 in Parry Sound, somewhat warmer. A few centimeters of snow, and periods of snow in Temiskaming Shores of -12. You called it earlier. Getting colder, and of course we'll have sunshine and colder temperatures on Thursday. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Rick. And finally, the kitchen is often considered the heart of a home. And at Roger Nielsen Children's Hospice in Ottawa, it's a warm and welcoming space for families and children. It is now getting much needed upgrades thanks to a special $1 million gift. Here's CTV's Peter Sperling.
I think Chris is going a bit artistic here. I was trying to.
The kitchen at Roger Nielsen Children's Hospice is more than just a place to prepare meals.
Well, for this, it means family,
togetherness and happiness.
For patients and friends, Thomas and Wyatt, it's a gathering spot.
Sometimes me and Wyatt make cookies together. We see each other from time to time.
You're never bored because you always have people to talk to.
The space now officially opened and named as the Senator's Foundation Kitchen.
This is where a lot of people gravitate to at the house, and to see it's not just for the families, for the staff as well, to be able to interact and intertwine with the kids and really build that team atmosphere in here.
The kitchen receiving upgrades beginning later this year, thanks to a $1 million gift from the Senator's Community Foundation.
So it'll be used to update our kitchen to make it more accessible, modernize it. We're 20 years old this year, and so it needs a little facelift. And then they provide ongoing support for all of our programs and services with the rest of that funding.
Part of making it more accessible, modifying countertops and oven height for wheelchairs.
We want to make this kitchen really accessible for the kids who are using our home, and we want to make sure the kitchen is somewhere where they feel really comfortable in.
Take care, buddy.
The Ottawa Senators has supported Roger and Nielsen Children's Hospice for 20 years.
And we've been involved every step of the way. It's a real special spot in our hearts.
Now that spot will have an even better space for families, staff, and patients to spend time.
It makes me more independent here.
I want to be a chef when I grow up, so the more cooking I do, the better.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
And folks, thanks for watching CTV News at 6. I'm Tony Ryma. More news comes your way at 11:30 with Ian Campbell. Good night.